number 200 hours. And you guys have come up, you're going to be spending 15 hours with me, right? So we're left with 185 hours. That's approximately the amount of time I spent preparing when I was your age. I took something called the PSAT. Anybody want to tell me what the PSAT is all about? Yeah, it's got the practice SAT, right? So these were my scores. Tell me something about the highest and lowest number you can get on the SAT. You know, like for your math, you get a score, and for the verbal, you get a score. What's the highest score you can get on one of these? 800. 800 is the highest. What's the lowest you can get? You just write your name and then you walk out. It's an expensive experiment. Well, you know what? Tell me what you think the middle number is, and then we can figure out what that number is. So you haven't heard it. Middle number is 500. So what would the lowest number be? What's the distance between 800 and 500? That's right. So you sign your name and you walk out. You get 200 points. You will be officially the lowest scoring person, right? So 550 and 570, that put me not really special, right? So I took that book. Oh, what a wonderful book. And I was on a boat for 3 weeks in 1975 during the time of Watergate. Does anybody remember? Give the name of a president of the United States in the 1970s. It will distinguish you if you just rattle off some names. What's that?
The name is Dick, right?
Dick. Yeah, that's right. That was his first name. Richard Nixon. There you go. And he had a little problem with a Watergate burglary, right? Okay. So for 3 weeks, they were doing Watergate hearings every night. So that was on TV. All 3 channels. They didn't have CNN. They didn't have cable, right? I sound like that AT&T Uverse commercial. Well, at least you're... So I was sitting with this in my room. In the morning, my grandfather took me out on a boat. We were on a lake fishing until he caught enough fish, and then we made soup. And then we came back and Watergate hearings. And my grandfather plays bridge, and I don't know how to play it. I don't know how to play bridge. So I was studying 3 weeks. Okay? So, that was 21 days, and there was about 8 hours a day, right? There's 168 hours, almost up to that, right? And then I did a little bit more, so I figure I did about 200 hours. My math number went to 800, and the verbal number went to 720. And I want that to happen to you guys. Maybe not as dramatically, but we can shift your numbers. Whatever your numbers are, you shift it by memorizing vocabulary. Give me an example of a typical question in the reading section. So, anybody know what a reading section looks like in the verbal? What's the kind of question they ask? In line 48, the word intractable refers to... It's a vocabulary question, right? Now, what's a tip? Remember, we're talking about tips. What's a tip when you are shown a reading section? What's the first thing you should do?
Read the question.
Read the questions first. Should you spend any time actually reading? No, because it'll say in line 42. And what do?
Highlight whatever.
Highlight that word and go and figure it out. You get a point without even reading it. One of the things it does to your brain is you feel, wow, I'm already figuring this out, while everybody else is carefully reading the subject. You can actually do some of those questions without reading the entire thing. You just read the portions that you need to. About the math. Tell me what kind of math is on the SAT. I want to know. How much calculus is on the SAT? Calculus? I haven't seen any. No. What is on the SAT? Geometry, algebra. Anything? This is teacher talk. They have this thing called number sense. Remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally? PEMDAS. Right. It's kind of knowing the laws. That's what number sense is. It just, you understand things. There's this thing about converting. I mean, most of us know how to get from, well, I haven't seen a lot of feet to miles. And I haven't seen a lot of cups to gallons. But that's usually what you think about when you're doing converting, or liters to gallons. They're generally not that bad. But they do change things up, like I personally have, I want to tell you a problem I've actually seen, rather than go to my textbook and say, oh yes, if you know that it's 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, how many liters is that? No, they won't do something like that. But they will do something along the lines of, if you have, I've seen one where they had kilometers, and then they asked you something about meters. And that's pretty straightforward, right? If you had to divide 3 kilometers into 6 sections, how many meters would each section be? Yes, we